Okay, picture this. It's 2026. You're the chief financial officer of a huge pharmaceutical company. Your board, they've given you this crystal clear but kind of impossible mandate. You have to slash costs everywhere, but you also have to find the money to fund the big AI revolution that's supposed to make all those cuts possible. That's the CFO's dilemma. And the key to solving it? Well, it starts with one single, really surprising number: 170 gays. So what is that? It's not how long it takes to get a new drug approved. Nope. This is a quiet, massive, and incredibly expensive problem that's hiding in plain sight on the balance sheet of pretty much every pharma company out there. For 170 days, that's how long the average pharmaceutical company is just holding on to its inventory. Now get this, most other big industries, they're holding theirs for about half that time. This isn't just some small logistical thing, it's a huge signal of inefficiency. It's all because of this old, never run out of stock mindset, which in the age of AI has turned into a multi-billion-dollar problem. So, how do we unpack all this? Well, in this explainer, we're going to start by sizing up that $43 billion problem. Then we'll dig into this great translation barrier that's stopping anyone from fixing it. We'll talk about forging the key alliance you need, we'll look at what an AI-powered P&L actually is, figure out how to win over the board, and finally, see how the CFO's role is changing into something new: a value guardian. All right, let's dive right into the problem itself. The CFO's $43 billion problem. We're talking about a massive opportunity that's hiding right there in the numbers, all wrapped up in that core challenge for our CFO. Cut costs, but find the cash to fund the very tech that lets you cut those costs. And here it is. This is the total size of the prize: $43 billion. That's the cash that experts estimate could be freed up across the entire industry if pharma companies just got a little bit better, moving from average to top quartile at managing their working capital. That is the cash that's trapped by those 170 days of inventory. Capital that could be funding R&D or paying shareholder dividends, anything but sitting on a shelf. And look, this isn't just some theory. This slide shows you a real-world example from a major player. Sanofi isn't going to their board talking about cycle time improvements. No way. They're talking about hundreds of millions in revenue risk that they've avoided and predicting 80% of their low inventory problems before they even happen. See? They're speaking the language of the boardroom: dollars and risk. And that brings us to the real bottleneck here. The problem isn't a failure of technology, it's a failure of communication. We're talking about what you could call the great translation barrier. This slide just nails the problem, doesn't it? The chief supply chain officer, the CSCO, runs to the CFO, all excited about reducing forecast error. And for them, that's a huge operational win. But for the CFO, it's just jargon. What does forecast error reduction even mean for the bottom line, in terms of inventory write-downs or working capital or gross margin? If you can't translate it, the value is totally lost. And here's the data that shows you exactly why that gap exists. A staggering 85% of CFOs do not see the supply chain as a priority area of knowledge for them. So when the CSCO is speaking their language, it's basically falling on deaf ears that have to be focused on a dozen other critical financial things. So if the problem is a communication barrier, the solution has to be a bridge, right? And that leads us right to our third section: forging the key alliance. This is all about being deliberate and building a real strategic partnership between the CFO and the CSCO. And guess what? There's a playbook for this. EY looked at the best performing companies, and it really boils down to 3 things they do together. First, they find opportunities as a team, with the CFO immediately translating the operational ideas into financial impact. Second, they prioritize those business cases together. And third, they agree on KPIs that track both the operational stuff and the P&L success. And this is the tool that makes it all click. Think of this table as the Rosetta Stone for Pharma AI. It directly translates what the CSCO cares about into the language the CFO lives and breathes. All of a sudden, forecast error reduction becomes inventory write-down reduction in dollars. Safety stock reduction becomes working capital release in dollars. This is how you build that bridge. Now, once you have that translation in place, we can move on to section 4, the AI-powered P&L. This is where we connect all the dots and see exactly how investing in AI creates real, tangible financial value.
And here's a really crucial point from research by Strategy and PwC. If you look across the entire pharma business, where does the biggest AI value actually come from? It's not R&D and it's not commercial. It's operations at a whopping 39%. This is the single biggest pot of gold for AI-driven financial impact.
This slide gets really specific, and it's great because it maps AI tools directly to the P&L. For example, you use machine learning for demand forecasting? Boom, that directly lowers your cost of goods sold, your COGS, and your working capital. What about predictive maintenance in your factories? Well, that lowers COGS and actually increases your gross margin. Every single AI initiative has a home on the financial statements. So, what is the CFO actually funding? It's not some kind of abstract AI black box. It's really a 4-layer stack. It all starts with a solid data foundation. On top of that, you have the intelligence layer, where the AI models live. Then, the orchestration layer acts like a digital control tower to manage everything. And finally, you have the agentic automation layer that actually executes the decisions. Each layer builds on the last to create that value. So you've got the technology, you've got the CFO and CSCO working together. The last hurdle is the ultimate gatekeeper. So let's move to Section 5, Winning the Boardroom. This is all about how you craft the story that gets these critical AI projects the green light. The first part of a winning pitch is to completely flip the script. Don't frame this as something you could gain, frame it as something you are currently losing. You calculate your trapped cash, the cost of your inefficiency compared to the best in the business. This isn't about what you could make, it's about what you are losing every single day. Second, every single proposal has to be presented in the language of quantified returns. We're talking real metrics here. Dollars of working capital released, basis points of gross margin improvement, the dollar value of revenue protected from stockouts. These are the kinds of numbers the board actually understands and deeply cares about. Third, you have to tackle the elephant in the room. We know from the data that about 67% of CFOs say their digital projects underperform. So a winning pitch hits this concern head-on with a clear plan for data quality, project governance, and, this is critical, a named executive sponsor who is on the hook for the results. Fourth, you have to close the loop. It's not enough just to promise a great return. You need a framework for actually tracking it. A clear plan for measuring return on AI investment, or ROI, shows the board you're serious about accountability and delivering on that business case long after the budget is approved. And finally, you make it a strategic must-win. Just look at the market. Eli Lilly's ability to meet that huge demand for its new drugs while competitors couldn't, that wasn't luck. That was supply chain excellence. It's the ultimate competitive weapon, and delaying this kind of investment is a strategic risk you just can't afford to take. This whole journey really leads to a fundamental change in the CFO's role. And that brings us to our final section. The CFO is value guardian. This is about moving from being just a financial gatekeeper to becoming a true strategic leader. The critical point is that the CFO's job is no longer just about approving the budget for AI. Their new role is to govern the AI's output. They become the organization's decision auditor, making sure the data is clean, the models are right, and that every single dollar invested in AI delivers its promised return right there on the P&L. They become the ultimate guardian of AI value. And this brings us right back to the central idea here. As we wrap up, it leaves us with a really critical question. When you look at that $43 billion opportunity and all the hurdles to actually capturing it, you have to ask yourself, in this new era, is the biggest risk we face a failure of our technology, or is it a failure of translation?